My name is Ray.
Hi, this is Michael.
And welcome to another video of Ray's Economic Clue Book. Today, we'll be talking about the Ricardian trade model, an expansion upon our last video.
Okay.
So of course, last time we talked about how trade is based off of comparative advantage, as David Ricardo said, not absolute advantage, as economics in the 1700s used to believe.
Yeah.
So because of that, free trade based off of comparative advantage, it pushes the PPF, or production possibility frontiers, of both countries outwards towards a better, more efficient trade possibility frontier, or TPF. Yeah. This is basically simulating economic growth, as a country, borrows the more comparatively advanced resources of another country through trade.
Okay, let's see.
So of course, when we talk about trade, we look at the individual PPF curves, which focus on the two goods, the LX and LY goods, I would say in this example.
Yeah, goods X and goods Y, let's say.
LX basically is the amount of labor units needs to produce LX, and of course LY is the amount of labor needed to produce good Y. So with a combination of these two goods, we have the MRT, or marginal rate of transformation. Marginal rate of transformation is basically your opportunity cost. It's the relative price of LX compared to LY. The relative opportunity cost of LY compared to how many units of LX compared to how many units of LY you sacrifice.
Yeah, it basically, for goods X, say labor units, let's say 6 hours, okay, to catch a coconut, and then 4 hours to catch a fish. So by this, I mean, apparently, coconut is more expensive.
Yes.
To the same person.
Yes.
Okay, without any trade.
Yes.
So that's how the LX and the LY is defined, and how it's going to be, applied into the pricing model here.
Yes.
Okay?
So basically, we talk about slope in PPF basically represents the opportunity cost. So in this case, LX over LY is our slope. Basically, the relative price of LX in this case is our slope, and in that case, it's 2/3, because you're sacrificing 2/3 of a unit of good Y for each unit of a good X.
So it's pretty straightforward. The slope is the Y-axis divided by X-axis by algebra, and apparently in this case, the Y is apparently more expensive, because if you look at it, you can produce 300X, but only 200Y. So Y is relatively more expensive.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a 2/3. Okay, let's see.
So this is the country that country A is supposedly trading with. Under an autarky or no trade, country B has basically this PPF curve right here. And of course, once again, the slope is basically the relative price of good X, which in this case is 4 units of good Y per unit of good X. So our MRT, or slope, is 4.
So that really means X is far more expensive, right? You only have 100X, but you could have 400Y alternatively. So
So gains from trade, of course, how do these two countries trade? So of course we talk about these two countries have to trade in a combination of the goods they produce. So of course, country A, which has good X being three over 2 units of good Y expensive, and country B having good X being 4 units of good Y expensive. Of course, country B wants a lower relative price for good X. So its price is going to be greater than the MRS, or marginal rate of substitution. While country X wants a higher price country A wants a higher price for good X in the form of good Y, which it has a tougher time producing, of course.
So in this case, it's actually pretty straightforward. Okay. For country A, we have this pricing. For country B, we have this pricing. So goods X and Y, they have a relatively different pricing in two different countries. So that's how they exist the incentive to trade. Because by trade they can both better off.
Because
which means they can both get a better pricing.
Because country B gets a lower price for the good that it has that's more expensive for it. And country A gets a higher price for goods more expensive for it in the form of good Y.
It's pretty straightforward, because for country A, we still remember goods Y is more expensive. And for country B, goods X is more expensive. Okay, so which means they have a basis. They have a basis.
So of course, their relative MRS is basically between 2/3 the relative opportunity cost for good X for country A and 4. Which is relative.
And the PX and PY could be any number between. And which could be the result of their negotiation. Okay, so
of course, let's look at an example. What happens when they trade? So when they trade, of course, they expand their PPF like economic growth upwards towards a PPF. So talk about how the relative international price in the last slide has been.
Which is right here is 200, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
So last time talk about country A, it had this PPF right here. But we know the international price right now has between 2/3 and
4.
4. So let's say we use 3/2.
Yeah, which we already assumed here.
So if it's 3/2, then the new point on the y-axis will be 450.
Yeah.
So that the slope is of course 3/2 and this TPF. So as you see here, through the international price that we established here, country A has a, I guess, expanded PPF curve and increases its consumption possibilities.
Yeah, to the TPF right here.
Yes.
So basically, for country A, it's a better position because they can still produce at most 300x.
Yes.
But now they can enjoy up to 400Y.
Yes, because they are selling good X for Y.
For in this case, 300x can be exchanged to 450Y.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
450Y from where? From country B.
Yes.
Okay, and well, of course, country B can produce a lot of goods. Why? We know that. Okay, so the whole case here is basically without really changing anything, just the trade, country A becomes better off, and they can get at most 450.
Yes.
And they would have never, obtained this
Yes.
much. Right?
And country B, of course, is good off, vice versa.
I would
Yes.
leave the country B's TPF
For the audience to solve, yeah.
and it's very easy to figure out.
So basically, in our final clues, we talked about in the first slide, the marginal rate of transformation is our autarky price, which is, of course, relative to the two goods in their PPF. However, open trade allows for better pricing by expanding our PPF and giving a better price for both parties involved. And so, of course, because this open trades, as we just said, pushes your PPF forward towards a TPF by, as we said, indirectly borrowing a more productive resource from the other country, and of course, expanding your consumption possibilities like economic growth.
So I would like to call that implicit, technology upgrade.
Yes, yes. Because you haven't upgraded, but you're using the upgrades of another country to benefit you and the country itself.
Yes, because you guys actually both
work
country
together
and exchange their technologies,
yes, yes,
right?
Yes.
So I think that's a really a good presentation, and this hopefully the audience can really
Yes.
get a lot from our discussion, and
Yeah.
I look forward for your next episode.
Thank
See
you.
you
See you
guys.
next time.
Bye bye.